If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles.
My name is BM Fox and this is the Beginner's Guide Day 1. Let's jump into a game. I am joining a round of Clash of Nations. So now I have to make my first two decisions. Is firstly the doctrine choice and secondly my country choice. Best for beginners is allies. As you can see, allies, they get a decreased production time with 30%, so you can build a large army fast. They have decreased research costs and times with 25%, and they have decreased upgrade costs and times for their unit with 20%. They have a decreased unit speed with 10%, but if you're not that active in a game, being a bit slower might even help you. Second option is the Comintern doctrine, which has a 50% reduction cost to build units, and you have a reduction of 30% unit upkeep, which means that you can build cheaply large armies and you don't have to pay a lot of upkeep for them. So you're never going to struggle with resources and you're going to be able to play fluently. On the other hand, Comintern units, they deal 10% less damage. Secondly, the country. Next question that you need to ask yourself is, do you want to be landlocked or not? On this map, however, almost every country has access to sea. I always want to have access to sea to build a navy early on. This way I can invade other countries easier and faster because I'm already going to have dominance at sea. So I think for this game I'm going to choose the Allies doctrine. I want to have access at sea. I don't want to be in America because then I need to do a large-scale invasion. But I have to say that Europe can be tricky too, because usually they end up in big clashes. So Algeria is free, Egypt, Morocco, Southern United States, and the United Kingdom. Well, let's go with the United Kingdom. Okay, as soon as you open your game, you're gonna see that you start with some units already. If you click the left and right cursor of your mouse and you move it, you can select all your units in the blue field. Here you can see I have 3 anti-air units. Of course, they are against airplanes. I have 18 infantry, 2 armored cars, and 1 interceptor. So this map is balanced, meaning every player is gonna start with the same amount of armies, and you're all gonna start with the same amount of resources, which you can see here above. So first I'm gonna explain what the properties are of your starting units. Anti-air is a cheap defensive unit. It gives you very high defensive attack against planes, but also against heavy armor. Infantry is a defensive unit and the base unit of every army. It's cheap and easy to produce and important to conquer cities. It is 50% stronger in defense than it is in offense, and it's very good against unarmored units, but it can hold their own versus light armored units as well. Next is the armored car. An armored car is a fast defensive unit which can quickly move from province to province, and it has the scout ability, so they can reveal hidden land units from the same or lower level. Also, armored cars are 50% stronger in defense than offense, and just like infantry, they are also very strong against unarmored units and can hold their own versus a bit of light armor. So infantry and armored cars, they pair well together. Finally, I also have my interceptor. I'm gonna put it on patrol. Click on it. You can see the interceptor is an offensive airplane and they are the key in gaining air superiority. They are best used to fight other aircrafts or to scout enemy positions. It's a scout, so they can reveal hidden land units. And as you can see, they are 50% stronger in attack than in defense. Now, I've been talking about unarmored, light armored, heavy armored units. Now, what is this? In the research tab, you can see this is unarmored, for example, unarmored units. Most infantry units are unarmored, except for mechanized infantry, which is light armor. Also, almost all of the ordnance units are unarmored units, except SP artillery, which is a fast artillery unit, and SP anti-air, which is a fast anti-air unit, are light armored. In the tanks tab, armored cars and light tanks are light armored units. Medium tank, heavy tank, and tank destroyer are heavy armored units. Planes are the plane class. Then we have the naval units, in which you have the ships, which are classed as naval ships, and you have the submarine class. And finally, in the secret tab, you have rocket artillery, which is unarmored, SP rocket artillery, which is light armored just like all the other SP units. Railroad guns are heavy armor. The flying bomb, the rocket, and the rocket fighter are considered as the airplane class, and the nuclear bomber and nuclear rocket are also considered as air units. So whatever you do, always make sure in this game that you attack the right armored class with the right unit. As the map is balanced and every player starts with the same units, every player also starts with the same resources. There is food in the game and goods, steel, oil, and rare materials. You can find more information about the resources in the wiki. So when I go to country management and resources, then you can see here food is mainly used for producing infantry type units. They're also required to produce unarmored units and ships. Then you have goods. Goods are mainly used for ordnance units. They are also required for producing light armored vehicles and airplanes. Metal is mainly used for producing light and heavy tanks, and is also required for other vehicles and ships. Oil is mainly used for producing heavy armored units, and it is also required for motorized units, including heavy armored and light armored vehicles, planes, rockets, and ships. Rare materials are mainly used for producing airplanes and secret weapons. They are also required for producing heavy armored vehicles. Manpower is used to produce units. Every type needs it. Manpower mainly is the amount of men that you have in your country which are in the fighting age. Money is used for every unit and for every building as well. Also for research. And you can use it to trade in the stock market, which I wouldn't recommend because the stock market, they have high prices in the start of the game. The stock market is here. Prices are high in the stock market for all kinds of resources. Usually after day 4, when there's more AI in the game, resources get cheaper, so it's better to wait a couple of days before buying things, because you start with a limited amount of cash and you need cash for everything in this game. Now, next on the program, before I can start the building or researching anything, I need to know which kind of units I'm gonna produce. In my case, I know I'm playing Allies and I'm England, so I'm gonna need a navy. So I'm gonna construct a naval base. In London, I'm gonna construct an ordnance foundry. Why? Because I want it close to the front, as ordnance units are slow. So I'm gonna build an ordnance foundry here. Next, in Birmingham, I'm gonna build an air base. Why? Because Allies are very good in air, and I'm also gonna need naval bombers to scout my country to prevent an invasion. Next, in Manchester, I'm also gonna build an ordnance foundry. I want 2 because Allies, they are very good in SP artillery. I'm gonna need SP anti-air as well. And then finally in Glasgow, I'm gonna construct a tank plant because I'm gonna need those very good tank destroyers that Allies have. As you see, I didn't build a barracks. Why not? Because I already start with 18 infantry units and I don't want to get into food troubles because infantry cost a lot of food and goods. Next up is research. I'm gonna go to the research tab and I'm gonna produce armored cars because these are going to unlock the tank branch. Next up, I want to research Destroyers. Destroyers are the base units of any navy because they're going to protect you against submarines, and they can protect also your convoy units at sea. And most importantly, allies, they get an extra bonus for destroyers. They also can detect hidden submarines, so that is great. They have extreme good stats against submarines, as you can see. All right, now if you are playing with a landlocked, then I advise you to go to the Ordnance tab, start researching anti-tank. It only takes 20 minutes and you can already produce anti-tank while researching artillery next. A lot of players, they tend to use a lot of armored units, especially light tanks in the start of the game. So you want some of these babies to protect you. They are stealth, so they are hidden in forest and in urban terrain, which is cities. They have extreme good stats against heavy armored units and light armored units, especially in forest. As you can see, they get 50% bonus. In cities, they get 25% bonus. So definitely go researching that as soon as you can. Next up in your research should also be artillery. Artillery is a very important unit. It's an offensive unit and is most effective against armored targets and buildings, but it can also damage a bit infantry. And which is great about artillery, it is a ranged unit, so you can tear apart other units without taking a single damage yourself. This is extremely good. They get a bonus in hills and in mountains. So I've been talking about different terrain types. There are 5 different terrain types in Call of War where units can get additional terrain bonuses. Firstly, there's urban terrain. This is where infantry and certain counter units inflict more damage to their opponents. And next is plains, where motorized units are faster and their maneuverability inflicts more damage. Forest, dense vegetation enables infantry and stealth units to inflict more damage. Next up is hills. Hills and valleys with the differences in altitude enables ordnance units, otherwise said mainly artillery, can inflict more damage upon their opponents. And finally, there are also mountains. The rough mountains reduce the movement speed of all units, and certain ordnance units and infantry units, which is mainly artillery units and commandos, can inflict more damage upon their opponents there. My armored car and destroyer research has been finished, so now I'm gonna produce interceptors to protect my airspace, because I also want to make as fast as possible tactical bombers, which are very good for allies. But first I'm gonna research naval bombers because I'm on an island, so I want to be safe against invasion. If you're not playing on an island, then like I said previously, you should research now anti-tank and artillery. All my buildings have been built, as it only takes half an hour. So I'm gonna go to my province list and I'm gonna produce an armored car. I'm also gonna produce my first destroyer. There we go. That's done. Next, what I want to do is build industry everywhere. So I'm gonna select all my provinces, click on construction, and now I'm gonna scroll down to economy, build industry. As you can see, I don't have enough resources, but as you are a beginner, I would advise you to use gold sometimes. You can collect 2,750 gold a day by watching advertisements on the mobile version, which I would really encourage you to do. There we go. So the 5 industry are building. Now why am I building industry? Industry increases the production in the city or province where you build it, which is extremely interesting. If I click on the information of industry, you can see that level 1 increases with 10%, level 2 25%. If you max them out up to level 5, they double your production with 100%. So this is very important. You should always build and upgrade your industry. I've built my military productions buildings first because they only take half an hour. This way I can start producing units, because constructing industry takes 9 hours and you want to start producing units as fast as you can. I can zoom in or zoom out the map by rolling the roller of my mouse. I wanted to show you that in each city you produce a different kind of resource. You have 2 signs, which means you have double production. So I have a double food, in London a double rare resource, in Birmingham double goods, Manchester double oil, and in Glasgow I have double steel. If I click on it, you can see it produces every day 4,628 steel. By building industry, this is going to increase with 10% now. I also have rural provinces which produce resources, but those are only single resource provinces with the lower production. So I have here a food province which produces 1,157 food. Also, when I have the resources, I'm going to build industry here. I have also a goods province and an additional oil province. This is great because I need a lot of goods to build my ordnance units, notably the SP artillery, which is very good for allies. I need food for my navy and for commandos, which are very good for allies doctrine. And I also need oil for my planes and my navy. So I have a pretty good economy for my battle plan. I strongly encourage you to build only 1 military production building per city like I did. First, you do this to save resources, because resources in this game are limited, so resource management is very important. Secondly, if you build 2 buildings in one city, always one of the 2 is going to be idle, because you only can produce 1 unit per branch at the same time. So if you have built 2 or even more production buildings in the same city, there's always gonna be 1 or more buildings that are idle. Now, idle buildings means a waste of resources. If you have idle buildings, you shouldn't have built them. What I can do now also to have a barracks and a secret lab is attacking AI. AI are the small countries here. They have a white face. Players, they have a gray face with a green dot. So the small AI, they usually have only 10 or 20 points. You can fight them easily here in the diplomacy tab. They are here. There's a lot of them. Greece has 20 points. The Cossack Republic has 20 points. All the others have 10 points. So I want to attack Ireland. If you want to attack an AI, you need to declare trade embargo 24 hours in advance so that you don't upset the AI countries. Diplomacy is important in this game. Now, I'm gonna select multiple units. So if I click Shift, I can select multiple units. I'm gonna select these 3. I'm gonna move them over here. I'm gonna split up this army. I'm gonna select the armored car. I'm gonna send it also to Ireland. These 3 here, I'm gonna bring them also to Ireland. There we go. I'm gonna take this one here as well. There we go. Very good. You always need to leave 1 unit in a city. Preferred is the infantry, as it gets a bonus of 50% in cities. It's gonna be able to beat most units in defense because it's 50% stronger in defense. You don't want to be surprise attacked and lose a city. You would lose both your ability to produce units and your economy would be hampered a lot. So I'm gonna keep my infantry here, but I'm gonna split up the anti-air stack and I'm already gonna move it direction of France. Also, this armored car, I'm gonna split it up. I'm gonna move it over here too. Split up. Go. Same in London, split. I'm lucky because I can get attacked more difficult because the enemy, they need to come to me. They need to embark in their country. They need to disembark on my shores. Disembarking on enemy shores always poses a risk. When you do it, you should always be covered by naval units, which is the reason I'm already building a destroyer right now. I have another front report. There is my naval bomber research, which has been completed. So I'm going to go to the Ordnance tab and I will start researching artillery because I need to research this to unlock SPA artillery on day 3. So start researching. Now I want to produce naval bombers right away. If I click on information, as you can see, there are great offensive planes best used to attack ships and submarines, and they will just completely destroy any unescorted land units that are trying to disembark on my shores. They also have scout ability. They will reveal hidden submarines. So I'm going to produce one of those. Produce. I don't have the resources to make it right now, so normally I should have to wait 3 hours to have enough resources to make it. But as you are a beginner and you collect a bit of gold with the daily advertisements on your mobile application, I advise you just to use a little bit of gold. It's gonna help your gameplay a lot. Once you get more experienced, you're gonna be able to play this game without losing a single gold. As you can see, I never use gold and I have saved up all the gold that I win during this game. So I gave already Ireland a trade embargo. Now all the AI that I don't intend to attack, I'm gonna give them shared intelligence. If you don't have shared intelligence, just give them shared maps. Why am I giving all these AI shared maps? Because this way I'm gonna be more popular and I'm gonna have less chance that the AI will attack me further in the game. Diplomacy with AI is important. The last thing you need is when you are fighting a war that one of the AI will attack you in the back. These here are small AIs, but at day 4, all the players which haven't logged in to the game for the last 48 hours, they're gonna become AI too, and those countries have a large economy, they have larger armies, and you don't want them to attack you. I've got new front reports. Spain surprise attacked me without declaring war. Interceptor and artillery research is completed. I've got my first armored car produced in Glasgow, destroyer in Plymouth, and a naval bomber in Birmingham. So first things first, I'm gonna produce 2 artillery. I'm gonna click both provinces. This one I only need to give the command once. Production, ordnance, produce artillery. There we go. That's done. I'm gonna produce a second armored car because they're very good in defense and they're very fast. Produce. There we go. I also want a second destroyer. Produce. Good. Gonna also make an interceptor. I lack a bit of rare resources to make it. Let's see how much. 225. So I can either use gold or the market. Let's see. 225 rare resources. It's expensive. 225. So I'm gonna buy them on the market this time. 225. Accept. And automatically you see my rare resources have been reduced and my interceptor is in production because I've put it in queue as I have high command. So this is very good. This is what you want. I've got all my buildings that are producing units and I've got all my construction going on. Nothing is idle. This is perfect. Only thing I have is idle research. So now I'm gonna go to the Navy because I want to produce cruisers. Cruisers are a very versatile ship. They are ranged ships that serve multiple roles. They are a mix of battleship and destroyers, so they have decent stats against submarines, they have decent stats against ships, and they have a very high anti-air value. So this is a good compromise. They're also faster than battleships, so in the early game, this is a very good unit. They can deal a bit of damage to land units as well. So if you want to do an early invasion and cross the sea, they can cover your landing. So in the naval branch, I've got the most important things, destroyer and cruiser. This is very good for the early game. In the air branch, I need tactical bombers, but I need a lot of rare resources for this. So I'm gonna do this later on. I'm gonna save up some resources. In the tank branch, I am good as well. In the ordnance, I should research anti-air. Anti-air is always good to have, but I'm not gonna do this right now because if I make interceptors, I'm gonna have air dominance too. In the infantry tab, I'm gonna research infantry already. I have the resources, I have the time, and I'm obligated to research infantry here to unlock all the other infantry units. So I'm gonna start reducing that one. You can see I don't have a lot of resources anymore, but that's because I've made units and I've built industry which costs metal, oil, and rare resources. I've got a bit of goods, but I'm gonna need them to produce artillery. And I've got food, but I'm gonna need those to build recruitment centers soon and to upgrade my infantry at day 2. As I just said, Spain surprise attacked me without declaring war. He attacked Gibraltar. Now, attacking without declaring war is not a very good idea because every player in the game has a certain amount of popularity, which is here. Global popularity, I'm at 87. But if you attack without declaring war, you get a penalty of 25%. So basically, if you do this 3 times, your popularity will be almost at 0 and the AI nations will start to attack you. Secondly, it wasn't a very good thing to do strategically because Gibraltar doesn't produce any resources. I can't train any units there, so it doesn't serve me a big purpose. But as Spain has surprise attacked me, he risks a full-scale war now. So what did I do? I've sent him a message in the diplomacy menu. I asked him why he attacked. I offered him in a trade. Here I can make new trade relation peace. I've offered him peace and asked him kindly not to do this again or I will attack him. Talking about aggression, early aggression, is it a good idea or not? I'm gonna tell you immediately, no, it's not a good idea. Why not? At the start of the game, all the units a player has are defensive, okay? Infantry is defensive, anti-air is defensive, armored cars are defensive. On top of that, in your core bonuses, here, core province, you get, as you can read, an additional 15% strength bonus. So first of all your units are better in defense than attack, and in your core provinces you get an additional 15% bonus, so your troops are gonna take less damage, but they're gonna deal more damage to the enemy. So in the early game, the defender is always in the advantage. What I usually do is producing a bit of artillery. At day 2, I'm gonna attack AI, the small AI like here in Ireland or in Belgium and the Netherlands. I'm gonna prepare my army well, and at day 4, when I have produced more offensive units, I'm gonna start attacking. Also at day 4, in the newspaper, which is here, the list of the largest army is gonna be published. Today, it's the list of the wealthiest nations, but as it's the first day of the game, everybody starts with the same amount of money, so it's not that interesting. In the newspaper, you can also see what is happening, who is attacking who is losing a lot of units. You can see, for example, that Libya is losing more units than the AI, so I guess he didn't stack his units well. This is why I'm moving a lot of units here to Dublin. I'm gonna group them in a big group so that I can kill single units easily without taking too much damage. What I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna patrol with my naval bomber. As you can see, it has a big range, and on these dots, these are waypoints. If any units are passing by there, I'm gonna spot them immediately.